So you have something involved in your process called isotope testing. I am super fascinated about that because that just sounds very sciencey and very geeky. So take me through that process. What does that mean to isotope test something and how do you do it?
Well, in the case of cotton, isotopes really relate to the natural fingerprint of the fiber that is used to make the garment or the yarn or the fabric. So it goes right to the source of the material and how you prove it. And this fingerprint consists of three isotopes: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And depending on where the cotton is grown in the world, the soil, the water, the latitude, the altitude, the latitude, and other factors in the environment contribute to the unique fingerprint based on those three isotopes for the cotton fiber. So think of it as instead of a fingerprint like on my finger, it's a fingerprint that's natural to the material itself. So if you want to know, is there Indian cotton in this t-shirt? You send the sample to Genutrace and we'll send it to a lab and analyze it and then tell you, yes, it's consistent with the origin of India or not. And today, that's an important um, proof point to demonstrate, because you also, by proving that it is from a claim origin, you also want to prove that it's also not from a high risk origin, that might use forced labor or have other um, practices that are not consistent with your brand values and goals. So there is a need to have a scientific method to prove it. Now, isotopes testing and isotopes themselves have been in the environment for decades or hundreds of years. The testing itself has been used mostly, I would say, in the food industry. So, for example, I mentioned honey. If you want to know, it's Manuka honey from New Zealand versus, which is very expensive honey versus just regular honey from California. An isotope test could tell you the difference between those two types of honey, or if there's any form of adulteration or substitution of the 100% Manuka honey compared to, um, a regular honey that you just buy off the shelf in your supermarket.
That we'll call it like that chain of custody. It's like, how do people really figure out, that's what's going on? And with that said, so we do feature a lot of businesses on this podcast that are what we call in the ethical, compassionate, vegan spaces. So it's super important for them when they are using products or they're developing, some kind of brand that, perhaps they want to stay, let's say, within the vegan or ethical space. Do you specifically work with businesses like that are trying to identify to make sure that their products are like 100% vegan? And with that said, do you do any work with companies like or corporations like the Leaping Bunny that tries to certify things like that? Is that part of what also Genutrace can offer?